Okay, so absolute advantage is essentially the ability of a person or a group to produce something more efficiently than another person or a group in the same allotted time frame and presented with the same resources as one another. Additionally, I have put together a simple chart for those of you who learn visually. And this chart is basically just presenting two different workers that are doing the same thing in the same amount of time with the same resources. Okay, so assuming that worker A and worker B both have the same amount of resources and are both allotted the same amount of time, presented is that worker A can make 18 burgers in this allotted time and worker B can make 6 burgers in this allotted amount of time. So, as you can tell, worker A is more efficient at producing burgers. Therefore, he has an advantage over worker B, who can only make 6. Which, to conclude, means that worker A has an absolute advantage over worker B in the production of burgers. Now, let's take a look at hot dogs. In the same amount of time, worker A can make 25 hot dogs, while worker B can only make 17 hot dogs. Once again, worker A makes more than worker B in the same amount of time with the same amount of resources. Therefore, worker A is more efficient than worker B, which means that worker A has an absolute advantage in making hot dogs. So, worker A actually has an absolute advantage in making burgers as well as making hot dogs.
So unlike absolute advantage, comparative advantage is the ability of an individual, country, or company to produce a good or service at a lower opportunity cost than its competitor. As this chart shows, worker A has the comparative advantage when it comes to making burgers. For every one burger worker A makes, the opportunity cost is only 2 hot dogs, whereas with worker B, it's 4 hot dogs. This differs when it comes to making hot dogs. Worker B has the comparative advantage because for every 1 hot dog worker B makes, the opportunity cost is only 1 burger, whereas with worker A, it's 2 burgers.
So explicit costs have to do with any type of real money flowing out of a business. So this can be physical money in terms of rent, wages that are being paid to the workers in a business, or any type of materials the business may need to thrive.
Implicit cost is an opportunity cost that has already occurred but has not been reported as a separate expense. The reason as to why it hasn't been recorded as a separate expense is because there's no cash or anything being received during the transaction. Now, it is still an opportunity cost because there's still something that you're missing out on based on a decision that you make. For example, let's say that you're an associate at a cafe or retail store and you have an opportunity to get promoted to a salary manager. Now, if you decide to stay as an associate, the money that you would make as a salary manager will be an implicit cost because you're not receiving that money. It's money that you foregone based on the decision that you made. So let's say that, another example, that someone has purchased a plot of land and built a restaurant on it. Now, the community in which that plot of land was purchased, the profits of that land go up. Now she's able to go ahead and sell that land to get a lot more money, but she decided to go ahead and keep her restaurant and keep working and keep selling food to guests. Now, she may be profitable based on the money that she's making from the restaurant, but it will be an implicit cost because now the money that she has for the land, or the money that she would receive for the land, is way more than what she originally paid for it. So that's based on the decision that she made. She's making money from the restaurant rather than selling the land.